So we're joined by Cal Porter. Cal, you've been appointed captain of the Box Hill Hawks for 2025. Congratulations. 2025 will be your fifth season at City Oval, your third as the captain of the footy club. How do you reflect on your time at Box Hill, your growth as a player and as a leader?
It's a tricky one to answer. I've definitely grown as a player and changed values in a sense of becoming very team focused, not just looking after my own backyard, but making sure the team's going well. And part of that's on field, being competent in your role. And I think I've mentioned that as a leader, you have to be really good at your role, good at your job, but at the same time be able to inspire and drag others along with you, and also play on their strengths as well. So I've got a lot of great leaders that surround me. Being my third year as captain, I couldn't do it without guys like Stewie Horner, who's just been an absolute staple in the 22. So bringing those guys along with me, getting the help and the counsel of others, and also just really nailing my role as I've gotten older has all helped to my development and brings us to where we are now.
How do you reflect on being appointed captain?
It's something that's really special, and I think the Box Hill Footy Club has a massive history, and I've been with a lot of people throughout my journey that have taught me a lot, who have been Box Hill captains, like Hugh Beasley, who taught me this role. We did it together. Damien Mercedes, David Banfield, Christian Haight, all of these guys have been massive influences on me, and Dave Mirra, guys like that from afar anyway, I've really admired. And I just know it's such a rich history, and to captain any footy club and be a part of that history is something that's really special, regardless of the on-field specifics or the day in, day out sort of stuff. To just be etched in history as a captain of such a proud footy club is something that means a lot to me. And legacy and belonging and community and being a part of an organisation, yeah, as I said, it's just as important to me as any of the other things we can accomplish.
From an on-field perspective, and this bleeds off-field as well, 2024 into 25 almost feels like as significant a list turnover as we've had in your time here. How do you see that? Is that a challenge to leadership? Is it an opportunity? Is it exciting?
I think it's both. I think it's a cultural shift that is necessary. We're definitely going to miss some guys that I've played with and played a really big chunk of footy with. Like, I'm going to leave some people out, but like your Fergus Greens and your Ed Phillips, Callum Brown, most recently, guys previous to that as well that I've loved playing footy with. But we need to spread the load, as I mentioned earlier. It's not just on our experienced guys. The way that our culture needs to shift is bringing more along with us, as I mentioned, but identifying where our strengths lie in the group and just how to bring that out of everyone. And I saw what Werribee did last year, being the benchmark, winning the premiership, and they had so many guys under 22, it was well documented, but the next step that those guys were able to take is the benchmark, and that's something that we want to do now. So our next crop that are coming through might not be as experienced as your Fergus Greens, Ed Phillips, the guys I mentioned earlier, but they're going to buy into the culture, they're going to know the standards and the values that we want to live, and they're going to train it all pre-season. Then we're going to bring those guys along for the ride, and they're going to be super important. And guys like your Stewie Horners and your Ben Kavaras are going to be there, and we know that. But the growth for us culturally with personnel change is inspiring those new guys, even if they are experienced, that have come from other clubs, but also those young guys that I just know they've been here for a while now and they're really ready to take the next step. So our job culturally is to inspire those guys, and the guys that we've missed that aren't here anymore, just to do them proud and I suppose continue the legacy that they've been a part of, but make it our own now with this young group.
I suppose the off-field effects of fresh faces is as important as the impact that they can have on the field. We've got quite a few fresh faces on the track for 2025. What have you made of their early impact?
It's been really good to get to know them firstly, but on the track, guys like Akida Clace, we know what he can do at VFL level, particularly in big games, but being such a big frame, being able to move the way he does, his skills, and just being a great person as well. All of these things, he's been a standout for me. I'm just keen to really learn from him, but he's one of those ones that I mentioned I'm going to try and bring along with me as a captain of the footy club to be a really big influence on the group. Ethan Stanley's one that we've brought back into the fold. He's not, I suppose, foreign to the Box Hill environment. He's one that's going to be important. CJ Preston, really good. Trent Bianco, just a lot of class, a lot of good outside ball users, a bit like myself. So to have some other silky guys out there with me on the outside is going to be really good. But in all seriousness, we did say that there's a lot of personnel changes, but we're bringing in some really good players and really good people that I think are going to be really key to how we go, along with our relationship with Hawthorn and making sure we get some good quality there, develop those young guys. I think complementing that Hawthorn talent who's just going through the roof at AFL level, they're climbing up the ladder rapidly. As I mentioned, comparing that, or I suppose complementing that is the word, with our experienced guys, the ones that I mentioned, it's going to be really important. It's going to be a key for us.
And then amongst the returning group, you mentioned Cav and Stu. There's a few others, of course, but we'll chat it in two parts. One, how exciting sort of is it to aid and track the development of a few of the young boys, Seb Amoroso, Jet Latchford, Lane Ward, etc. There's so many to name. But how exciting is it for you to be able to help them grow into VFL footballers and maybe beyond?
It's really exciting, and I've touched on this in previous interviews. My early days at Footscray, being on an AFL list, I had a bunch of really experienced leaders and footballers that helped me along the way. Albeit being on an AFL list, it was sort of my first introduction to VFL, AFL footy, senior football, and I've always wanted to be that for someone else, and those guys are really important. As I mentioned before, culturally, we need these guys to step up. They're going to play more games than they ever have. They're going to be more influential than they ever have before. So if I can have a role of a leader, a mentor for these guys, just like the Marcus Bontempellis, the Josh Dunkleys, the Tom Liberatores did for me, that's something that I would like to pass on to these guys as well. But I've got to give them credit where credit's due as well. Like, I can lead the way, try to bring them along, but they're right there. They're dragging me along for things, and that's, I think, showing that we're in the right direction. If there's ever extras after training, guys like Seb are always there, whether it's driving standards, like a Jet Latchford on the track, and a lot of those other guys you mentioned, they're the ones who are setting the standards now. So it's not just resting on our experienced guys, as I mentioned. So as much as I'd like to bring them along, I think they're actually already there. They're bringing me along and pushing me along too. So it's a really good relationship. It's one that I've been lucky to have with a bunch of guys through my career. Now it's time for me to lead the way and be on the other side of the fence, which is exciting.
You said it a couple of times on the track and in meetings, you've alluded to it in this chat. Cav and Stu, you can't do everything alone. You can't drive standards or set standards or bring people along with you. How important is it, their impact on what you try to do from a leadership perspective?
It's massive. They're guys that I talk to weekly on the phone. We meet really frequently, whether it's dinners or extra training, whatever it may be. They're guys that I really lean on, and different ideas to just be like, look, I'm thinking of driving this message. How do you think the boys will take it? How can we frame this? What's the narrative? What's the story? How can we make the place better? And I'm probably not involving a lot of our younger players in that just yet. As I said, they're important for creating influence. And one thing that I've spoke about with a bunch of different mentors over the years is that not everyone can lead, but everyone can influence. So I'm trying to get those young guys to influence, and guys like Cav and Stu I can just really count on to lead, be in those discussions, make some big decisions, and just brainstorm sometimes how we can make the place better, but also vent on certain frustrations, provide solutions. And Zane's awesome with that, and Sturz, our head of leadership, they're guys I lean on as well, but purely from a playing point of view, they're just, Stu and Cav are my rocks in a way, and I know they're going to be there, and I can't do what I do without them. I couldn't thank them enough just for their friendship and their guidance as well, and just their do or die attitude as a teammate. It's amazing.
You mentioned Zane there. That's obviously another really key relationship within the football club, whether you're captain or not, with the senior coach. Two parts, I suppose, to this question. This will be your third season working under Zane. How important is that continuity? And then secondly, how has your relationship with Zane grown from year one to now year three?
It's grown a lot, and Zane's amazing. He's given me so many amazing opportunities, not just officially in terms of captaincy, or I've played under him in the state game for Victoria, for the VFL, and just my whole footy journey. He's changed the way I think about footy, and the continuity to have the same coach for 3 years has been great. You mentioned my first few years. I had a different coach my first 3 years, and you feel like you rock up to pre-season, you have to prove yourself again and connect with a new person. And having Zane, that time with Zane has been awesome, but it's not just the time, it's the effort he puts in, it's the care factor that he has for me, but also the same passion for the footy club and for the group. So working with someone who I believe shares that passion is amazing, and it'd be very hard if we both didn't have that. But just being able to be honest with each other as well, that's the next layer we've added. I think we get along really well, have a great laugh, but the thing that we're adding now is the ability to have really honest conversations with ourselves, be vulnerable in front of the group with our messaging, but make sure we're pulling in the same direction. And if one of us strays from that direction, we can really have an honest conversation, hit each other between the eyes, and we know that that's coming from the right place. We want to make each other better. I want to be the best captain I can be for him, and I know he wants to be the best coach that he can for me. And that comes with a care and a relationship factor, which we built first. And then as we've grown, as we've had more time, being able to be honest and drive stands with each other has just been a game changer. And he's someone who I'd like to thank for all the opportunities, like leading the footy club, but also what he's taught me about leadership, being part of a team, and the game of footy as a whole. He's one that I'm really excited to work with again, and I'm really excited about what we can do as a group this year.
You mentioned the excitement about what we can achieve as a group. If we cast our mind back, 2021 was your first year on the list. We all know the season was abandoned, sort of on the cusp of maybe becoming something. But in each of your 3 completed seasons at the Box Hill Hawks, we have played finals. Now, wanting to put you on the spot, is there something missing? Is there something sort of obvious that we can do to take that next step in 25?
I've been asking myself that question every year, and this year in particular. As I said, these meetings with Stu, Cav, Zane, Stirs weekly, we're saying, what do we need to do? We can't just rock up trying to do the same thing as we've done in previous years, thinking that Box Hill's a successful club. We make finals every year. Not every club do that, and that's a great thing, but it's not something we just want to hang our hat on and be happy with. So that question, something we ask ourselves constantly: how can we be better? A couple of things we've spoke about is the work ethic of the place. So not just coming in, doing the same work. We need to be doing more, quality over quantity, but more is a good thing. And then a little bit culturally about what we touched on as well, without giving away too much. I think the difference will be not relying on our top end, trying to make sure that our depth is really good, but the capability, not just football-wise or on the track, but the mentality of the entire group is just a bit more aligned and taking that next step. And I think if we can get the group buying into that culture, plus add a bit more work ethic, things like difficult conversations, driving standards, being honest and vulnerable as a group, but me leading that as the captain, all of these little cultural shifts we're hoping will push towards our bigger goal, which is to win finals and win a grand final. As you mentioned, I made finals every year, or been top 8, top 4, whatever it may be, and I've only won 1 final in my time at the club, which we want to do more, we want to be better. We're not hiding that, we don't want to apologise for that. And we're, as I said, asking ourselves that question constantly: how can we be better? How can we do it? With the vulnerability to know that it might not work, whatever we're doing. We're heading into a season where it's the unknown. We're not sure if our work's going to pay off. We're not sure what other clubs are doing, but that's not what we can control. So if we control these small changes that we know the process is better, then hopefully that results in a better outcome as well. And having vulnerability to do that as a leader and just completely buy into this program, I know is going to take us a long way, and it's going to take us where we need to get to. We're going to have a good year.
Hopefully that's it. We all know that footy games are tough to win. Finals are really, really hard to win. What are your expectations for 2025? Is it purely results-based? Is it a little bit of that process stuff? Because everyone wants to win enough games to make the finals and then win enough finals to win the flag. That's the dream. But what are your expectations?
We want to do better than we did last year. As I mentioned, we're sick of making finals, getting kicked out, being a bad, good team, beating everyone we should, but then when push comes to shove, not being able to perform. And the only way we'll know if that's true is if we watch this back in 9 months' time and figure out how we went. But I suppose it's a 2-part answer. That's the expectation, and now we're trying to match the process to make that expectation. So things like work ethic, things like spreading the load across the board, adding more depth, changing our mentality and our standard of driving, bringing more along, getting more players on our list ready to play more games, and the different things behind the scenes that we're brainstorming to get that happen. All of those little actions in our process will add up, but how we're building that process is off the back of playing finals, winning more finals than we have in the past, and we won't know if that's going to happen yet. As I said, we can watch this later on and see how we do. But as a leader, that's irrelevant. The main things we can control is our commitment to that process, getting the right people involved, and also trying to enjoy it as we go along as well. There's a bunch of different sportsmen that have interviewed and talking about successive years and how do you rate a successful year, and sometimes it isn't that results-based stuff. You can't win every year, you can't win every game, every quarter, stoppage, contest, whatever it may be. As well as you want to have high expectations, you also want to have the ability to identify your processes, your journey, your actions, making sure you've done everything you can, reviewing all of that, I think we can make some real inroads this year. And I think if we commit to that well enough, we're going to get our on-field stuff as well to match that. So that's the plan for next year and the expectations.
And a key part of what we hope to achieve on the field as well as off the field and your leadership is obviously the alignment with Hawthorn. How is that sitting? How is that shaping up? You've been a part of it now for so long.
Really good. Selfishly or personally, I was a Hawthorn supporter growing up, so even being in at Waverley at the moment and mixing in with the Hawthorn group and guys that I've played with for a number of years, but also at the footy club I supported as a young man and a young person, I feel like it's really exciting. But from a professional level, we're very blessed to have these guys playing with us week in, week out. We have access to some of the best coaches, the best programs, the best resources, and some really good people. Guys like Andy Collins, Aaron Sipos, Zane, of course. Like, I'm going to miss some, but these Hawthorn people that spend a bucket load of time in our program, it's just amazing. And I really feel like we connect well with the Hawthorn players as well. And it'll be dragging as many of them along for the ride as we can as well. So as Hawthorn's expectations increase, just like Box Hills are, we're going to be playing together with different expectations at AFL and VFL level. So making sure that we align with that. We're pushing everyone to develop, become AFL ready, VFL ready, be the best players they can be. It's the relationship with our Hawthorn guys is going to be crucial. And as I said, personally and professionally, it's one that I cherish and I think we're really lucky to have with the Hawthorn Footy Club. It's really good.
Very well said, Ports. Look, as a football club, we're really lucky to have you. It's an honour to have you on board as captain again for a third season. Now we just wait to see how it goes. Thanks very much.
That's it. Thanks, Budge. Looking forward to it.